This is a video for for loops. All right, so we're going to be learning about something called a for loop. So a for loop is a way to repeat lines of code. So we're going to use the word for, F-O-R, and we're going to start off with something called a range. So we're going to say for some variable, let's say x in range. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the start value, so it's going to be some value, comma, the finish value, right? And then we need a colon, right? And then anything after a colon needs to be indented so we know what is inside of this particular thing, right? And so then what we're going to do is we're going to put lines of code that we wish to execute multiple times. So we're going to repeat some lines of code. All right. Now, the starting value, okay, whatever number we pick there, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 or whatever, okay, we start with that value for the value of x, and then we go up to the finish value, but not including the finish value. Okay. Now, we could also just put the finish value. Okay. So if I said for x in range finish, then what? Well, that would mean we start at 0 and go up to, but not including finish. All right. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to start putting some things inside of the for loop and see what happens. All right. So let's go ahead and see what happens on the canvas or in the console, depending on what we decide to do. All right, so for x in range, let's start off with something real simple, 1 comma 5. All right, and we're going to say print x. Now, print, remember, that is going to put the value of x in the console, not on the canvas, right? So we're just going to be looking at the console down here. All right, so what is this one going to do? So initially, x is going to be 1, then x is going to be 2, then x is going to be 3, then x is going to be 4, and then that's it, right? Because we go up to, but not including the finish value of 5, right? So when I hit run, we notice we get 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this print statement was repeated, okay, 4 times, right? It was repeated when x was 1, when x was 2, when x was 3, and then when x was 4, right? So this is what displays in the console. All right, so now let's change it. What if we said, okay, now we're going to start at 3 and we're going to go up to 6, right? So that means what? We're going to start at 3, then 4, then 5, and then not 6, right? We do not include that last value, right? So we would expect to see 3, 4, 5, which we do in the console. Okay, now what if I get rid of the 3 comma and if I just say for x in range 6? So now what's going to happen? We are going to start at 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, but once again, not including the finish value of 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you have to realize that this line of code, line 2, is repeated how many times? Well, 6 times actually, right? Starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I say for x in range 6, yes, I'm starting at 0, but I'm still doing that stuff inside of the loop 6 times. All right, let's change it up a little bit. Okay, let's say for x in range 0 to 6. All right, but now instead of a print statement, let's bring in a label. Let's see what happens. So label x comma 100 comma 50 times x, and then comma size equals 20. Okay, and so now what we see, what's going to happen? Okay, x is initially 0, so we're going to have a label. Remember, it's going to be on the canvas now. We're going to have a label of the number 0, right? At 100 comma, well, 50 times 0 is 0, right? And then size 20. Next, label, right? In the for loop, we're going to go 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So we're going to have a label of 1 at 100 comma 50 times 1. Then we're going to have a label of 2 at 100 comma 50 times 2. A label of 3 at 100 comma 50 times 3, a label of 4 at 100 comma 50 times 4, a label of 5 at 100 comma 50 times 5, And then that's it, right? Because we go up to, but not including the finished value of 6. And so when I hit run, we see the label 0 is at 100, 0. The label of 1 is at 100, 50. The label of 2 is 100, 100. The label of 3 is 100, 150. The label of 4 is 100, 200. And the label of 5 is 100, 250, right? Notice the Y value of each of those labels is the X value times 50, okay? All right, so now let's change it up a little bit, okay? Oftentimes we use a loop to add things on or whatever. So let's create this variable called sum, right? We're going to initially set it to be 0, and let's do for X in range 0 to 5, okay? All right, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to print the value of X like we did before, right? So if I ran just this, right, in the console, we're going to get what? We're going to get 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, but not including 5. Okay. Now, each time in the loop, let's take sum plus equals X. So now what are we going to do? We're going to add the X value onto sum. Okay. So sum starts at 0. First time in the loop, X is 0. So sum plus equals 0. So it's still 0. Right. Next time through the loop, sum plus equals 1. So now sum is 1. Then next time through the loop, right, we're going to add on 2, then we're going to add on 3, then we're going to add on 4, and we're not going to include 5. So what are we looking to get? Well, sum is going to have a value of 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, right? So when we add all those together, then we're going to get our value, right? And so let's create a label, okay? And it's going to be the value of sum at 200, 50, let's just use size equals 20. All right, so now what is happening here? Notice I unindented this, right? It is not inside of the for loop. So that means the for loop is going to repeat lines 3 and 4, right? So we're going to print the value of X, then we're going to add the value of X onto the sum, right? We're going to do the 5 different repeats of lines 3 and 4, and then we're going to put a label of the sum in the canvas, right? So if I hit run, I see 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, or sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we notice the label is 10. Why is it 10? Because 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 10, right? That's the value of sum, okay? All right, let's do a different one. Okay, let's call this factorial. All right, so factorial, we're going to start at 1, and we're going to do for X in range 1, 5, and we are going to, okay, we're going to say factorial equals factorial times X. Okay, and then let's print the factorial. Okay, now, okay, so what you want to notice is that print statement is inside of the loop, right? And so that means each time through the loop, we're printing the value of factorial, right? All right, so let's think for X in range 1 to 5. So that means we're going to start at 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, but not including 5. All right, so factorial is going to be initially 1, so 1 times 1. So we're going to print 1. Then factorial is 1 times the next value of X, which is 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So we're going to print 2. Then the next value of X is 3. So factorial is 2 times 3 is 6. So then we're going to print a 6. Then the next value is 4. So factorial is 6 times 4. So then we're going to get a 24. So let's see what this is. So 1, 2, 6, 24, like we said. Okay. All right, let's do just a couple additional ones. All right, so I've got 4X in range. All right, and let's do 1, 2. Sorry, 1, 8, 2. So now the third argument there in range. I don't know why I always put ranger. All right, so the third value there, okay, this tells us how much we want to go up by. So we're going to go from 1 up to, but not including 8, but we're going to go up by 2s. And so here, let's do a label, all right? And we're going to put the label of X, whatever the X value is, and we're going to put that at 100, 50 times X, like we did earlier, and then size equals 20. Okay. All right. And so what's going to happen? We're going to start at 1. Okay. Then we're going to go up by 2. So we're going to go from 1 to 3 to 5 to 7, right? And then that's it because we get up to, but not including 8. And so you're going to see the labels are going to be 1, 3, 5, 7, right? And that's it. Okay. Now, what if I said, okay, 7, comma 0, comma minus 2. So now what does that mean? Now we're going from 7 to 0, but we're going down by 2, right? And so that means our first value is 7, then we go to 5, then we go to 3, then we go to 1, but of course, 0 is not included because 0 is the finish value. All right. And so if I run this, all right, what do I get? Well, I actually get, it looks like the exact same thing, right? Because we started with a value of 7, and then we went to 5, then we went to 3, then we went to 1. Now, what if I made this value instead of 0? What if I made it 1? That means we would not include 1, right? And so if I run this, now I don't see 1 there because we go up to, but not including that value. Okay. All right. So that is the left side of your worksheet. So now the required practice on the right side, you must complete the right side on your own.